The widow's black Prada heels clicked against the linoleum like a countdown timer. Victoria Ashford stood in the doorway of room 447, rain hammering the windows behind her, and smiled the kind of smile that made Emma's stomach drop. "Put down the book, Miss Hayes. We need to discuss your mother's life support." Emma's fingers went numb. The worn copy of Moby Dick slipped from her hands and hit the floor with a sound like a coffin closing. "My mother," she whispered. "What does she have to do with anything?" Victoria stepped inside and closed the door. The lock clicked. In the hospital bed between them, Marcus Ashford lay motionless, machines breathing for him, just as they had for 18 months. Emma had been reading to him 3 nights a week since last winter. She told herself it was part of her job as a night shift caretaker, but that was a lie, and she knew it. Victoria circled the bed like a shark. "Your mother's treatment costs approximately $15,000 per week. The hospital has been remarkably patient, but I sit on the board of directors. One word from me, and those machines upstairs go silent." Emma's heart hammered against her ribs. "You can't do that. That's murder. I prefer to think of it as resource allocation." Victoria pulled a manila folder from her designer purse. "However, I'm prepared to ensure your mother receives the finest care available for the rest of her natural life. All expenses paid." The room felt like it was shrinking. Emma looked at Marcus, his weathered face peaceful despite the tubes and wires. She'd pulled his file once, curiosity getting the better of her. Marcus Ashford, 62 years old, made his fortune in shipping before a boating accident left him here, suspended between life and death. "What do you want?" Emma asked, though some part of her already knew the answer would change everything. Victoria opened the folder. Inside was a marriage certificate, crisp and official. "I need you to sign this. It's backdated to 3 months before my husband's accident. According to this document, you and Marcus were married in a private ceremony." Emma stared at the paper like it was a snake. "That's fraud. That's illegal." "That's survival," Victoria said softly. "You see, if Marcus dies while married to you instead of me, certain estate complications arise." "Complications that serve my purposes. When he finally passes, and he will, you'll sign over everything to me. In exchange, your mother lives. And if I refuse?" Victoria's smile widened. "Then I make one phone call. Your mother's ventilator gets unplugged within the hour." Tragic, but these things happen in hospitals. Equipment failures, staffing shortages. So many ways for people to slip away in the night. Thunder cracked outside, shaking the windows. Emma felt tears burning behind her eyes. She thought of her mother, 2 floors above, drowning in her own failing lungs, kept alive by machines and mercy. She thought of the medical bills stacked on her kitchen table like a paper mountain she could never climb. "How do I know you'll keep your word?" Emma's voice came out broken. "You don't, but you know with absolute certainty what happens if you refuse." Victoria held out a pen. "Sign here, or your mother dies. Those are your only options." Emma's hand trembled as she reached for the pen. The storm outside seemed to hold its breath. Somewhere in the hospital, a monitor beeped steadily, marking time, marking life, marking the seconds she had left to decide. Behind Victoria, unnoticed by either woman, Marcus Ashford's heart monitor spiked, just once, just barely, then settled back into its familiar rhythm as if the machine itself was waiting to see what Emma would do. Emma stared at the pen in Victoria's perfectly manicured hand. The gold barrel caught the fluorescent light, gleaming like a knife blade. 1 hour, Victoria repeated. "That's how long before the night shift changes, before the new administrator reviews patient insurance statuses, before your mother's file gets flagged for discontinuation of care." Emma's voice came out as a whisper. "You can't do that. There are laws, patient protections." Victoria's smile widened. "I'm on the hospital's board of directors, dear. Have been for 6 years. Do you know how many decisions I approve every week? How many budget cuts? How many resource allocations? How many unfortunate clerical errors?" She stepped closer. "Your mother's insurance claim was already denied once last month. It took 3 appeals to reinstate it, appeals that I personally reviewed. 1 phone call from me, and those appeals vanish from the system. Poof, like they never existed." The room tilted. Emma grabbed Marcus's bed rail to steady herself. "You're lying." "Am I?" Victoria pulled out her phone, tapped the screen twice, and turned it toward Emma. It showed an email draft addressed to the hospital's insurance coordinator. Subject line, urgent review required, Patricia Hayes claim. Emma's mother's name, right there in black and white. All I have to do is press send, Victoria said softly. The email goes out. By morning, your mother's morphine drip gets disconnected. Her oxygen, everything. Hospital policy for uninsured patients in hospice care. We keep them comfortable, but we can't provide extensive life support. You understand. Emma's knees buckled. She sank into the chair beside Marcus's bed. Why? The word came out broken. Why do you need me to sign anything? You're his wife. You'll inherit everything anyway. That's where you're wrong. Victoria's mask slipped for just a second, revealing something cold and hungry beneath. Marcus changed his will 6 months before the accident. Left everything to a marine conservation foundation. Some sentimental nonsense about protecting the waters he loved. I get the house, a monthly allowance, and nothing else. $60 million to save the whales. Her voice dripped venom. But if there's evidence of fraud, if someone tried to manipulate Marcos before his accident, married him under false pretenses, then the will becomes contestable. The foundation gets tied up in legal battles for years. And the grieving widow who discovered the deception, she becomes the sympathetic victim. Courts tend to side with victims. Emma's mind raced. You want me to sign a fake marriage certificate so you can expose it as fraud. Backdated to 2 weeks before his accident. You'll be the greedy little caretaker who took advantage of a wealthy, vulnerable man. I'll be the heartbroken wife fighting for justice. Victoria leaned in close. You'll lose your job, of course, possibly face criminal charges, but your mother will keep her insurance. She'll die peacefully, pain-free, with you beside her. Isn't that worth a little public humiliation? And if I refuse? Victoria's finger hovered over her phone. Then I press send, right now. Your mother has maybe 3 days without her medications. It won't be peaceful, Emma. It won't be quick. The pen still hung between them, suspended in the sterile air. 1 hour, Victoria said again. She placed the pen on Marcus's bedside table, next to the marriage certificate with its official-looking seals and notary stamps. All fake, all designed to trap Emma in an impossible choice. I'll be in the hospital cafeteria. Bring the signed document there or don't. Either way, this ends tonight. Her heels clicked across the linoleum. The door whispered shut. Emma sat in the sudden silence, staring at the paper. The certificate looked real. Too real. Victoria had planned this perfectly. She buried her face in her hands. How had her life become this? 3 years of reading to unconscious patients, of finding meaning in small mercies, of trying to make her mother's final months bearable, and now this impossible, horrible choice. I'm so sorry, she whispered to Marcus. I'm so sorry. The words came tumbling out then, a confession she didn't even know she needed to make. 18 months ago I was walking near the old lighthouse at Elliott Bay. It was late, maybe 2 in the morning. I couldn't sleep because Mom had just gotten her diagnosis, and I just needed to walk, to think, to breathe. Her voice cracked. I heard the crash. Saw the boat hit the rocks. You went into the water so fast. She reached out without thinking, her fingers resting on Marcus's motionless hand. I pulled you out, dragged you onto the dock. You were so cold, not breathing. I did CPR until you coughed up half the bay. Stayed with you, held your hand, kept telling you to hold on, that help was coming, that you were going to survive. Tears streamed down her face. The paramedics arrived. You were alive.
That was all that mattered. I left before anyone could ask questions because I just needed to know I'd saved someone, that I'd done something good in a world that felt like it was ending. Emma's hand tightened on his. I never knew who you were. Not until I started working here, started reading to you, and even then I didn't recognize you. Your face was so different that night, covered in blood and salt water and fear. She closed her eyes. Now Victoria's using you to destroy me, and I don't know what to do if I sign. I betray you. If I don't, my mother dies, scared and in pain.
The room was utterly silent except for the rain against the window and the steady beep of the heart monitor. Then the beeping changed. Faster.
Stronger, more insistent. Emma's eyes snapped open. Marcus's fingers, the ones her hand rested on, twitched, just slightly, just enough. The heart monitor accelerated. 150, 160, 170. Marcus, Emma breathed. His eyelids fluttered, his lips parted. And from somewhere deep inside his 18-month silence, Marcus Ashford began to fight his way back toward the light. Emma's hand jerked back as Marcus's grip tightened around her fingers. His eyes, those gray-blue eyes she'd seen only once before through rain and darkness, opened fully. They locked onto hers with an intensity that stole her breath. "Lighthouse," he rasped again, his voice rough from disuse. The heart monitor screamed. 190. 200. The numbers climbed impossibly high. "Marcus, stay calm," Emma whispered, leaning closer. "You're safe. You're in the hospital. You've been—" "You." His grip tightened. "The woman that night." Emma's world tilted. "You remember? Your voice. I'd know it anywhere." His eyes searched hers desperately. "You stayed with me, in the water. You kept me alive." "Yes, but Marcus, you need to." "Victoria." The name came out like poison. She did this. She cut the lines, sabotaged the boat, left me to drown. Emma's blood ran cold. "What?" "I remember. Everything. She wanted the money. All of it." His breathing came faster, ragged. "You have to." The monitor flatlined. A single endless tone filled the room. Marcus's eyes rolled back. His hand went limp in hers. "No." Emma screamed. "Marcus, no, no, no." The door burst open. 3 nurses flooded in, followed by Dr. Chen. "Out, now!" Dr. Chen barked, already reaching for Marcus's wrist. "Code Blue, room 317!" someone shouted into the hallway. Hands grabbed Emma's shoulders, pulling her away. She fought against them. "He woke up! He was talking to me!" "Miss Hayes, you need to leave." Nurse Peterson, her face grim, physically hauled Emma toward the door. "Get the crash cart," Dr. Chen ordered. "Starting CPR. Someone bag him." Emma watched in horror as Dr. Chen's hands locked together over Marcus's chest. 1 compression. 2. 3. Charging to 200 joules. "He knows what Victoria did," Emma shouted from the doorway. "He remembers. She tried to kill him." "Emma, out!" Nurse Peterson shoved her into the hallway and slammed the door. Through the narrow window, Emma watched them work. The paddles pressed to Marcus's bare chest, his body arching off the bed. The terrible flat line on the monitor. "Clear!" His body jumped. Nothing. Again, charging to 300. Emma pressed her forehead against the cold glass. Her breath fogged the window. Behind her, footsteps approached, sharp heels on linoleum. Well, Victoria's voice dripped with satisfaction. "What happened here?" Emma spun around. Victoria stood there in an elegant black dress, her red lips curved in a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "You," Emma breathed. "You tried to kill him." "Careful, dear. That's slander." Victoria's smile widened. "Though I must say, how unfortunate. Poor Marcus finally showing signs of life, only to... what's the medical term? Crash. He woke up. He told me what you did." "Did he?" Victoria tilted her head. "And who will believe the ravings of a brain-damaged man? If he even survives, of course." She stepped closer, her perfume choking. "But you signed the papers, Emma. You're complicit now. My accomplice." "If you speak one word of whatever delusions you think you heard, I'll make sure everyone knows you were in on it from the start." "Clear!" Another shock. Marcus's body convulsed. Still nothing. "He's been down for 3 minutes," someone said inside the room. "Keep going," Dr. Chen ordered. Victoria leaned in, her lips near Emma's ear. "Watch him die, knowing you helped me do it. That's your punishment for being so predictable." Something inside Emma snapped. She'd spent 3 years being quiet, being careful, being good. She was done. "If he dies," Emma said, turning to face Victoria directly, "I'll tell everyone everything. I'll scream it from every news station in Seattle. I don't care what happens to me." Victoria's smile faltered, just slightly. Your mother is dying anyway. Emma's voice broke, but she didn't look away. But Marcus doesn't have to, and neither do I. Behind them, a sound. A single beep. Then, another. Emma whirled around. On the monitor, a rhythm. Faint, irregular, but there. We've got him back, Dr. Chen's voice carried through the door. Pulse is steady but present. Get me an intubation kit, now. Emma's knees nearly buckled with relief. Victoria's face went pale beneath her makeup. This isn't over, Victoria hissed. No, Emma agreed, her jaw set. It's not, because now he's awake, and he remembers everything? Victoria's eyes narrowed to slits. Without another word, she turned and walked away, her heels clicking like gunshots down the hallway. Emma sagged against the wall, her whole body shaking. Inside the room, they were inserting a breathing tube down Marcus's throat, stabilizing him, keeping him alive. He'd come back once. He could do it again. And when he did, Victoria Ashford would finally face everything she'd done. But as Emma watched through the window, she saw Dr. Chen's expression, saw the concern in the nurses' faces. Marcus's numbers were all wrong. His brain had been deprived of oxygen. The damage from the code could be catastrophic. He might never wake up again, or if he did, he might not remember anything at all. Emma spent the next 2 days in limbo. Marcus was stable. Barely. The doctors said he'd survived the cardiac arrest, but the lack of oxygen had done damage. How much, they couldn't say yet. He wasn't responding to anything anymore. No squeezes, no eye movements, nothing. Victoria had him moved to a private wing. Security posted outside. No visitors except immediate family. Which meant Emma couldn't get near him. She tried once, got as far as the elevator before a security guard stopped her. Sorry, Mum. Mrs. Ashford's orders. No unauthorized personnel. Emma wanted to scream. She wanted to tell them everything. But what proof did she have? A forged marriage certificate, Morse code messages nobody else had witnessed. Victoria had covered every angle. So Emma did the only thing she could. She researched. The hospital library had archives, old newspapers on microfiche. She searched for Marcus's accident, found the original Coast Guard report. Yacht capsized during storm near Port Madison Lighthouse. Victim rescued by unknown bystander. Equipment failure suspected. Equipment failure. She kept digging. 3 days before the accident, Marcus's yacht had been serviced. Full mechanical inspection. New navigation system installed. The company's name made her blood run cold. Coastal Marine Services. Owner, Robert Chen. Victoria's brother. Emma printed everything, tucked it into her bag. Her hands were shaking so badly she could barely hold the pages. Victoria hadn't just sabotaged the boat. She'd used family to do it. Made it look like an accident. And when Marcus survived, she'd spent 18 months waiting for him to die. Until Emma's voice started bringing him back. Emma's phone buzzed. St. Mary's Hospital, her mother's facility. Miss Hayes, this is Dr. Patterson. I'm afraid your mother's taken a turn. We need to discuss her care options. Emma's stomach dropped. What kind of turn? Her breathing's become labored. We're seeing signs of organ failure. Given her DNR status, I think we should consider comfort measures only. Let her go peacefully. No, she's been stable for weeks. These things happen quickly, I'm afraid. I'd like you to come in tomorrow to sign the paperwork. The line went dead. Emma stared at her phone. Dr. Patterson. She'd never heard that name before. Her mother's regular doctor was Dr. Weinstein. She looked up Patterson in the hospital directory. Found his profile. Associate of Harborview Medical Center. Consulting physician. Victoria's Hospital. Oh God! Victoria wasn't just tying up loose ends, she was tightening the noose. Emma's mother was the leverage that had forced her to sign those papers. Now Victoria was eliminating that leverage. Permanently. Emma grabbed her coat. It was almost midnight, but she didn't care. She had to see Marcus. Had to warn him somehow. Even if he couldn't respond, he needed to know. She took the service entrance, the one the cleaning crews used, slipped through the maintenance corridors she'd learned during her years at Harborview. Marcus's new room was on the 4th floor. Private wing. But Emma knew the building's bones, knew every shortcut. She emerged from a supply closet 3 doors down from his room. The security guard was there, but he was distracted, talking on his phone, laughing at something. Emma waited until he turned away. Then she slipped past, into Marcus's room. The lights were dim, machines beeped softly. Marcus lay motionless, breathing tube down his throat, eyes closed. Emma moved to his bedside, took his hand. Marcus, I know you probably can't hear me, but I had to try. Nothing. His hand lay limp in hers. Victoria's going to kill my mother. She's already started. And I don't know how to stop her. I have evidence about the boat, about what she did to you, but it's not enough. I need you to wake up. I need you to tell them what happened. Still nothing. Tears burned Emma's eyes. Please, I didn't save you from drowning just to lose you now. And then, so faint she almost missed it. A twitch, his index finger, deliberate, controlled. Emma's breath caught. Marcus, another twitch, then another, not random, patterned. He was spelling again, Morse code, his eyes still closed, but his finger moving against her palm. ... SOS. Then more letters, slower now, his strength failing, LIGHTHOUSE. Emma's heart hammered. The lighthouse, Port Madison. That's where she sabotaged the boat. One strong squeeze. Yes. Can you testify when you wake up properly? But his finger had gone still. The effort had exhausted him. Emma squeezed his hand. I'll figure this out. I promise. She turned to leave and froze. Victoria stood in the doorway. Her face was pale, furious. You just couldn't stay away, could you? Emma's pulse thundered in her ears. Victoria's heels clicked against the linoleum as she stepped into the room, closing the door behind her with a soft, deliberate click. I asked you a question, Miss Hayes. Victoria's voice was ice. What are you doing with my husband? Emma forced herself to breathe. My job. Reading to the patients, same as always. At midnight? Off your shift? Victoria moved closer. Don't lie to me. I saw you holding his hand. Whispering to him. He's my patient. I care about... He's my husband. Victoria's eyes narrowed. And you signed a paper saying you understand your boundaries. You're a caretaker. Nothing more. Emma stepped back, her hip bumping Marcus's bed. Behind Victoria, through the small window in the door, the hallway was empty. No nurses, no security. I should go, Emma said. Yes, you should. But Victoria didn't move from the doorway. Actually, before you do, I have a question. That night Marcus had his accident. The night someone pulled him from the water, the paramedics said a woman stayed with him, kept him warm, talked to him until they arrived, then vanished. Emma's throat went dry. That was you, wasn't it? I don't know what you're talking about. Victoria smiled. It didn't reach her eyes. You're a terrible liar, Emma. Your face gives you away. It was you. And that's why he reacts to your voice. That's why his heart rate spikes when you read to him. You're not just some random caretaker. You're the one who ruined everything. Ruined. The word escaped before Emma could stop it. I saved his life. Exactly. Victoria's smile vanished. He was supposed to die out there. Tragic accident, grieving widow, clean inheritance. But you interfered, and now he's waking up. I can see it. His eyes track movement now. His fingers move. Soon he'll talk, and when he does, he'll tell everyone what I did. Emma's hand found the call button behind her. I don't know what you think. Don't bother. I disabled that button an hour ago. Victoria reached into her purse. You've become a problem, Miss Hayes. You and your mother both. Leave my mother out of this. Oh, I can't do that. See, she's leverage. The only reason you signed my little document. But now I'm wondering if that was enough. What if you've been recording, Marcus? What if you have evidence? I don't. I swear. Victoria pulled out her phone, tapped something, There's a nurse on her way here now. Someone who owes me favors. She's going to give Marcus something to help him sleep. Permanently. And you're going to watch. So you understand what happens to people who interfere in my business. Emma's blood ran cold. You can't. The hospital has cameras, security. Cameras can be erased. Security guards can be paid to look the other way. Money opens a lot of doors, Emma, and closes a lot of mouths. Victoria checked her watch. She'll be here in about 3 minutes. I suggest you use that time to think very carefully about your next move. Because if you scream, if you try to run, if you do anything to draw attention, your mother's ventilator gets unplugged tonight. Are we clear? Emma looked at Marcus. His eyes were closed again, but his chest rose and fell. Alive, fighting. She couldn't let Victoria win. Crystal clear, Emma whispered. Victoria smiled. Good girl. Now stand right there and... The door opened. A nurse walked in. Young, blonde, unfamiliar. She carried a small tray with a syringe filled with clear liquid. Mrs. Ashford, the nurse said pleasantly, I'm here to make the patient more comfortable. As requested. Emma's mind raced. 3 minutes, Victoria had said. But the nurse was already here, which meant Victoria had called her before confronting Emma. This was always the plan. The nurse approached Marcus's IV line, syringe in hand. Wait, Emma said. What's in that? The nurse didn't even look at her. Just something to help him rest. What medication? What dosage? That's not your concern. Emma stepped between the nurse and the IV. It is my concern. I'm his caretaker. And I need to see the doctor's orders for any medication changes. The nurse's smile tightened. Step aside, please. Show me the orders first. Emma, Victoria said quietly. Think about your mother. The nurse moved closer. Her hand reached for the IV port, and Emma grabbed the syringe. The struggle was brief and violent. Emma's hand closed around the syringe just as the nurse tried to plunge it into the IV port. They grappled. Victoria shouted something. The machine alarm screamed louder. Let go, the nurse hissed. What's in this? Emma yanked hard. The syringe flew from both their hands. It hit the tile floor and shattered. Clear liquid spread across the white floor, hissing slightly where it met the grout. Emma stared at it. Even from 3 feet away, she could smell the chemical tang. You idiot, the nurse spat. Do you have any idea what you've done? Emma looked at the woman's face. Really looked. The uniform was right. The badge looked real, but the eyes were wrong. Cold, professional. This wasn't someone who cared about patients. Security! Victoria's voice cut through the chaos. Security! We need help immediately! 2 guards burst through the door within seconds. Too fast. They'd been waiting nearby. This woman just assaulted my nurse, Victoria said, her voice shaking with what sounded like genuine fear. She's been acting erratically for days, claiming she's my husband's wife, following him obsessively. That's not true, Emma said. Look at what's on the floor. That's not a standard medication. Check it.
One guard grabbed Emma's arm. The other bent to examine the broken syringe. Don't touch that, the fake nurse said quickly. It's contaminated now. Biohazard protocol. But the guard had already dabbed a gloved finger in the liquid. He sniffed carefully.
Smells like saline to me, he said with a shrug. Emma's stomach dropped. Of course, they'd planned for this too. A decoy syringe. The real one was probably already disposed of. I want her removed from this hospital, Victoria said. Immediately. And I want a restraining order. Ma'am, please, Emma tried. Just check the medication orders. Ask the attending physician what Marcus is supposed to receive. This woman isn't even a real nurse. The fake nurse pulled out her hospital badge. I've worked here for 6 years. You've worked here for 3. And everyone knows you've become obsessed with Mr. Ashford. That's insane. Is it? Victoria stepped forward, pulling a folded document from her purse. Then explain this. A marriage certificate with Marcus's signature. Dated before his accident. Backdated. Clearly forged. You've been planning this for months, haven't you? Waiting for him to die so you could claim his estate. The security guards looked at Emma differently now. I can explain that, Emma said. She made me sign it. She threatened my mother. Your mother, Victoria repeated softly, who is also a patient here, who you're desperately trying to save. I understand, Emma. I truly do. But this has gone too far. Hospital administration arrived within 10 minutes. Emma tried to explain, tried to make them understand, but every word sounded more desperate, more unhinged. The live stream evidence? Just a scared woman's paranoid recordings. The timing of the nurse's arrival? Pure coincidence. The syringe? Nothing but saline for hydration. And the marriage certificate? Clear evidence of forgery and obsession. By midnight, Emma was fired. By 1 in the morning, she was banned from the hospital grounds. By dawn, her mother had been transferred to a facility 3 hours north. No visitors allowed during the adjustment period. Doctor's orders. Emma sat in her car in the empty parking lot as the sun rose over Seattle. Her phone, her keys, $20 in her wallet. That was it. No job, no access to Marcus, no way to protect her mother. She'd lost everything in less than 12 hours. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Pier 7. Ashford Shipping, midnight, come alone, -M. Emma stared at the text. It was obviously a trap. Victoria tying up loose ends. She should go to the police. She should run. Instead, she opened her phone's settings and activated the live stream function, set it to auto-upload, added her sister's email as an emergency contact. If she was going down, she'd take Victoria with her. Pier 7 at midnight. She had 16 hours to prepare. The warehouse loomed against the night sky, a rusting cathedral of corrugated metal. Rain hammered down so hard Emma could barely see 5 feet ahead. She checked her phone. The live stream was running, red dot in the corner. If anything happened, it would all be recorded. The side door was unlocked. Of course it was. Inside, the space stretched impossibly wide. Shipping containers stacked like giant building blocks. Shadows everywhere. The roof thundered with rain. Emma clicked on her flashlight and moved deeper inside. Marcus's office was in the back corner. She'd seen it once in a news article. The door hung open, half torn from its hinges. The office had been ransacked, desk drawers yanked out and emptied, filing cabinets overturned, papers scattered like leaves, but not completely destroyed. Whoever searched this place had been in a hurry. Emma scanned the walls, maritime charts, photos of ships. A framed map of Puget Sound with the lighthouse marked. The lighthouse. She moved closer. The frame was slightly crooked. Behind it, a small compartment had been carved into the wall. Inside, a waterproof bag, and inside that, a USB drive and a handwritten note on Ashford Shipping letterhead. Emma unfolded it with shaking hands. If you're reading this, I'm dead. Victoria and her brother Stefan planned everything. The embezzlement started 2 years ago. Offshore accounts, shell companies. When I discovered it, they decided widowhood was cleaner than divorce. The boat wasn't an accident. They sabotaged the fuel line. All the evidence is on this drive. Trust the lighthouse keeper. She saved me once. Marcus Ashford. Emma's breath caught. He'd known. Even before the accident, he'd suspected, and he'd left a trail. Footsteps echoed through the warehouse. Multiple sets. Emma shoved the drive and note into her jacket pocket and killed her flashlight. Floodlights exploded to life, blinding white light everywhere. She froze. Emma Hayes! Victoria's voice rang out, amplified by the metal walls. How predictable you are. Emma's eyes adjusted. Victoria stood 50 feet away, flanked by a massive man with a shaved head and dead eyes. Stefan had to be. 2 security guards in black tactical gear stood behind them. Victoria wore a blood-red coat. Her smile was sharp as broken glass.
"Did you find what you were looking for?" Victoria called out. "Marcus always was sentimental, leaving little notes, little insurance policies." Emma said nothing. "It won't help you," Victoria continued, walking closer. "Do you know how much money my husband was worth? $300 million. Do you know how much he gave me access to? Almost nothing, a monthly allowance like I was a child." Stefan laughed. "Low and ugly. So we helped ourselves," Victoria said. 18 million over 2 years. But Marcus started asking questions, hiring auditors. We couldn't have that. "You sabotaged his boat," Emma said quietly. "Stefan did the actual work. Brilliant with mechanical things, my brother. The engine fire was supposed to be instant, fatal." Victoria's face twisted. But you had to be there. You had to pull him out. Do you have any idea how much trouble you caused? Emma's hand moved slowly toward her phone in her pocket.
The live stream was still running. And then he wouldn't die, Victoria hissed. 18 months in a coma and he just kept breathing. But I was patient. The will was clear. I'd inherit everything. I just had to wait. Until he woke up, Emma said. Victoria's smile vanished. Until you woke him up. Your voice. Always your voice. The nurses mentioned it. How his vitals changed when you read to him. I should have realized sooner who you were. So, you forced Emma to sign a fake marriage certificate, Emma said loudly, clearly, for the recording. To cut her out as his legal next of kin. Oh, Emma, that certificate isn't fake. It's very real. Which means when Marcus dies tonight in a tragic accident at his own warehouse, and you die trying to save him, I inherit everything as his grieving previous wife. The certificate was filed but never finalized. You see, legal technicalities are wonderful things. Stefan cracked his knuckles. The guards moved forward. Marcus told you everything, didn't he? Victoria said. About the lighthouse, about the woman who saved him. He was obsessed, tried to find you for months. Imagine my surprise when you showed up as his caretaker. Emma backed toward the maze of shipping containers. There's nowhere to go, Victoria said softly. This ends tonight. The security guards rushed forward. Emma ran. Behind her, Victoria's scream echoed through the warehouse. Take her alive. I want to watch her face when I pull the trigger. The rain hit like needles as Emma burst from the warehouse into the Seattle night. Behind her, footsteps pounded on wet pavement. Stefan's voice cut through the storm. She's heading for the waterfront. Emma's lungs burned. Her scrubs clung to her skin, heavy with rain. The dock stretched before her, a maze of cranes and containers disappearing into fog. She knew this place. Her father had brought her here as a child, teaching her the hidden paths only harbor workers knew. She ducked between stacked shipping containers. The footsteps split up, circling. You can't hide forever, Stefan shouted. Emma kept moving. Her mind raced. The USB drive in her pocket felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. Evidence of everything. Victoria's embezzlement, the sabotaged yacht, Marcus's attempted murder, but evidence meant nothing if she was dead. Thunder rolled across the water. Through gaps in the containers, Emma saw the old Port Madison lighthouse rising from the rocky point, abandoned for 15 years. The place where she'd pulled Marcus from the freezing water that night. The place where everything began. She ran toward it. There! A guard's voice behind her. She's making for the lighthouse. Emma's feet hammered across the wooden dock. Waves crashed against the pylons below. The lighthouse keeper's cottage loomed ahead. Windows dark, door hanging crooked on rusted hinges. She hit the door with her shoulder. It gave way. Inside, everything was decay and mildew. Furniture covered in sheets. Her father's old navigation charts still on the walls, curling with damp. Emma slammed the door, shoved a heavy table against it. Her hands shook as she pulled out her phone. No signal. Of course not. The storm was too strong. Footsteps on the dock outside. Multiple sets. She ran up the narrow stairs to the second floor, found her father's old office. His computer was long gone, but the Ethernet cable was still in the wall. Emma yanked out Victoria's laptop from her bag. She'd grabbed it in the warehouse chaos. Please work, please. She plugged in the cable. The laptop hummed to life. Internet connection flickered on. Downstairs something hit the door. Hard. Break it down. Stefan's voice. Emma's fingers flew across the keyboard. She inserted the USB drive. Files appeared. Years of financial records. Emails between Victoria and Stefan, planning Marcus's murder. Security footage from the yacht. Another crash from below. The table scraped across the floor. Emma opened her email, started attaching files. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. Upload, she whispered. Come on, upload. The progress bar crawled. 30%, 40. The door downstairs splintered. Emma copied the cloud link, pasted it into emails, every news outlet she could think of. The Seattle Times, King 5 News, KOMO, the police department, the FBI field office. She's upstairs, 60%, 70. Emma hit send on the last email. The file shot into the cloud. Irretrievable, public, footsteps pounded up the stairs. It's done, Emma said to the empty room. It's all out there now. Stefan appeared in the doorway, gun raised. Behind him, 2 guards, and Victoria, rain-soaked and furious. You stupid girl, Victoria hissed. What did you do? Emma stood. Sent everything to everyone. The police, the press, it's over, Victoria. Victoria's face twisted. Kill her, now. Stefan raised the gun. Emma closed her eyes. Then, sirens. Distant but growing closer. Red and blue lights flickered through the broken windows. No, Victoria breathed. No! Through the rain came the sound of car doors slamming, voices shouting, and one voice that made Emma's heart stop. Marcus's voice, weak but unmistakable. She's in the lighthouse! Emma's in the lighthouse! Victoria turned to run. Stefan grabbed her arm. This way. Police! Nobody move! Officers poured through the doorway, guns drawn. Victoria and Stefan froze. And behind the officers, supported by 2 paramedics, his hospital gown soaked through, Marcus. His eyes found Emma's across the room. He looked like death walking, his face pale as paper, dark circles under his eyes, one arm bandaged and held in a sling. But he was standing. He was awake.
Marcus, Emma whispered. Sir, you need to sit down. One of the paramedics said urgently. You just pulled out your IV. I'm fine. Marcus's eyes never left Emma.
I needed to be here. You, Victoria's voice was a shriek. You were faking it. You lying. Marcus Ashford, the lead officer, stepped forward. Sir, we received your statement and the evidence you uploaded from your phone. We need you to identify these individuals. Marcus pointed at Victoria with his good hand. Victoria Ashford, my wife, she sabotaged my boat 18 months ago, intending to kill me and inherit my estate. Victoria's face went white, then red. That's insane. He's clearly not in his right mind. Stefan Volkov, Marcus continued, nodding at the bodyguard. He carried out her orders, cut the fuel line, disabled the radio, left me to drown in the harbor. Stefan's shoulders sagged. The fight went out of him. I want a lawyer, he muttered. And you have recordings? The officer asked Marcus. Everything, Victoria confessing, Stefan describing how he sabotaged the boat. It's all on the cloud, already forwarded to your department. The officer nodded to his team. Victoria Ashford, Stefan Volkov, you're both under arrest for attempted murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and fraud. No, Victoria lunged toward Emma. She's the fraud. That little caretaker tricked him into marriage. She forged documents. The marriage certificate is real, Marcus said quietly. Everyone froze. Emma's breath caught. Marcus, you don't have to. It's real, he repeated, louder now. But Emma didn't trick anyone. Victoria forced her to sign it, threatened to kill Emma's mother if she didn't. I heard everything.
Victoria laughed, a desperate, shrill sound. You heard. You were in a coma. I was conscious. Marcus's voice was steel. For weeks. Trapped inside my own body. Unable to move. Unable to speak. But I could hear. Everything.
The room went silent except for the rain drumming on the lighthouse roof. Emma would read to me every night, Marcus continued. Her voice was the only thing that kept me sane. And I recognized it. Because 18 months ago, when I was drowning in that freezing water, someone pulled me out, a woman. She held me, kept me warm, whispered that I'd be okay until the paramedics came. Then she disappeared. Emma felt tears streaming down her face. It was you, Marcus said, looking at her. Your voice. I'd know it anywhere. You saved my life then. And you saved it again, night after night, in that hospital room. Sir, the officer said gently, are you saying Mrs. Hayes is innocent? Completely. Victoria coerced her, threatened her dying mother. Emma signed that certificate to save a life, not steal a fortune. Marcus took a shaky step forward. And I want the marriage to stand. Marcus, no, Emma started. Not for the money, he said quickly. Not for any legal reason, because you deserve to be protected. From Victoria, from anyone who might come after you for what you know. And because, his voice cracked, because you gave me everything, twice, and I won't let you face this alone. Victoria screamed. It was a sound of pure rage.
of a plan crumbling to ash. Two officers grabbed her arms as she thrashed. "You'll regret this. Both of you. I'll destroy. Take her," the lead officer said wearily. Stefan went quietly, head down. But Victoria fought every step, shrieking threats and accusations until her voice faded down the lighthouse stairs. The room fell silent. Marcus swayed on his feet. Emma rushed forward just as his knees buckled, catching him against her shoulder. "I've got you," she whispered.
For the first time in 18 months, Marcus smiled. A real smile, weak but genuine. "I know," he said. "You always do." 6 months later, Emma stood in the lobby of Harborview Medical Center, holding her mother's hand. The doctors had just cleared Patricia Hayes for discharge. Fully recovered, color back in her cheeks, laughing at her own jokes again. "I still can't believe it," her mother said, squeezing Emma's fingers. "All those bills just gone." "The Ashford Foundation covers caretaker families now," Emma said softly. "Marcus made sure of it." Her mother's eyes twinkled. "That handsome shipping magnate who keeps sending you flowers. That Marcus?" Emma felt her cheeks warm. "Mom, I'm just saying, sweetie. A man doesn't look at someone the way he looks at you, unless... Patricia Hayes, you were in a coma yourself 2 months ago. You're supposed to rest, not play matchmaker." Her mother laughed. "Being near death gives you perspective, baby? Don't waste time on fear. I didn't raise you to be cautious." Emma helped her mother into the car, then drove her home to the small apartment they'd almost lost. It was still small, Still modest, but it was theirs, and it was paid for. The weight that had pressed on Emma's chest for 3 years had finally lifted. That evening, Emma's phone buzzed. "Marcus, meet me at Port Madison, 8 o'clock. There's something I want to show you." She arrived just as the sun began its descent toward the Olympic Mountains. The old lighthouse stood transformed, restored, repainted, gleaming white against the darkening sky. A bronze plaque near the entrance read, "Maritime Rescue Memorial, in honor of all who guide the lost home." Marcus waited at the base, hands in his pockets. He looked healthy now, strong again, though there were new lines around his eyes. The coma had changed him. He moved slower, spoke more carefully, listened more deeply. "It's beautiful," Emma said. "You saved my life here," Marcus said simply. "Seemed right to make it mean something." They climbed the spiral stairs together, their footsteps echoing. At the top, the lamp room glowed softly, the great lens catching the last rays of sun. Emma leaned against the railing, looking out at the harbor. "Victoria and Stefan got 15 years each. Detective Morris called me yesterday." "I know," Marcus said. "Attempted murder, fraud, embezzlement. They'll be old when they get out." "Does it feel like enough?" Marcus considered. "Justice never feels like enough, but it's something." He paused. "I rebuilt the company. New board, new policies, full transparency. It's smaller now, but it's honest. I'm proud of you. I established a fund," he continued, "for caretakers, people like you who spend their nights whispering hope into the darkness. You're invisible to the system, but you saved me. How many others like me are out there?" Emma's throat tightened. "Marcus, you didn't have to." "Yes, I did." He turned to face her fully. "Emma, there's something we need to talk about." Her heart skipped. She knew what was coming. "The marriage certificate," she said quietly. "It's still legally binding. We could annul it. Say it was signed under duress, which it was. Any lawyer would take the case. But..." Marcus stepped closer. The lighthouse beam began its slow rotation, casting moving shadows across his face. "But I don't want to," he said. "Not because of obligation, not because of gratitude. Because over these 6 months, getting to know you, really know you, not just your voice in the darkness, I've realized something." Emma's breath caught. "You didn't just save my life that night in the water," Marcus continued. "You gave me a reason to fight for it. Every word you read to me, every story, every moment you stayed when you could have left. You taught me what it means to show up for someone. No one ever did that for me before. Not Victoria, not my parents, not anyone." "Marcus, I fell in love with you," he said simply.
not the caretaker, not the hero. You, the woman who reads poetry to strangers, who bankrupted herself saving her mother, who signed a fraudulent document because love mattered more than truth. Tears blurred Emma's vision. I fell in love with you too. With the man who fought his way back from nothing, who heard me in the darkness and held on. Then let's do this right, Marcus said, taking both her hands. Let's start over. Date properly. Build something real. Something not born from desperation and darkness. And when we're ready, if we're ready, we'll stand here again and choose each other.
Not because a widow forced your hand, but because we want to. Emma nodded, smiling through tears. I'd like that. The last of the sun disappeared. The lighthouse beam swept across the harbor in its eternal rhythm, guiding ships safely home. Marcus pulled her close, resting his forehead against hers. Will you give me a chance to save you back? Emma's smile widened. You already have. Below them, the city lights of Seattle began to sparkle. The rain that had fallen for weeks had finally stopped. And for the first time in years, both Emma and Marcus felt they'd finally found what they'd been searching for. Not rescue, not salvation, but home.